Stanley. Stanley. Hey. Whoa, dude. This is my video. I know it's been about you. Oh, hi. Hey, this is Bob. Welcome to Pardee Shop Shenanigans. Stanley, down. Take it easy, man. Working on my 1962 Chevy C20 pickup here, and this week we're not going to do anything on it because I'm preoccupied with cleaning up after some storm damage we had. In the last 10 days or so, we've seen about 3.5 inches of rain here at the Pardee shop, and I had a couple of big fir trees go down. Thankfully, someone was home. My stepson was here and was able to move my Duramax pickup that I tow with and work with, because had he not, as you'll see in just a little bit, right where it was parked, it would have been pretty well scrunched. So I'll show you a few pieces of that. We'll take a quick little walk, but more importantly, I want to let you know that we will be back next week, have some action here with Stanley. I'm going to be rebuilding the starter and hopefully getting it running in next week's episode. But for this week, we'll keep it short, keep it sweet. I'll be back shortly. Let's go take a look at some of the mess I have to clean up. Well, in a couple earlier videos, I've had this view. I had Stanley sitting right in front of this white Ford. That's where I did my pressure washing and clean up. And thankfully, these two big old fir trees, they came down on the far side of their cousin. Had they come down on this side, would have taken the power out to the house, probably would have made the chickens unhappy, and might even have spanked my 89 Jeep Comanche there. So thankfully, the good Lord was watching after us, and not only did the wind take them down the direction that caused the least amount of damage, but right back here you can see my car trailer. I normally park just this side of it with my Duramax, and I'm so thankful my son was home. He was able to move the pickup, and literally 5 minutes after he had relocated it, that's when this happened. So this weekend, gonna do some cutting and burning and cleaning and, well, getting ready to stockpile firewood for about the next 3 years. Yahoo. Well, progress is being made. Indeed. Not like a little fire to keep your day going. Look, I can find my trailer. Now the crazy thing is right where this treetop is laying. Oh, that's where my pickup would have been. Woo-wee. Lucky. But looky at all that firewood. The Pardee shop will be warm next winter. Well, here we have it a week later. And those two darn trees, they're pretty much gone. Last little bit of cleanup. Oh, some big stuff up to do. Grab a little mini excavator maybe in a couple weeks from work. We'll finish that job, hey? It's time now to get back to working on Stanley. Stick around. Okay, with a little bit of wrestling, I managed to get this old girl out from underneath the pickup. As you can see, it's kind of dirty. That's what happens after, I don't know, 60 years. A starter in its simplest form is just an electric motor. And there's a solenoid here that has a lever that when you apply power, when you turn the key, it does this, engages a gear, turns your engine over and starts the process. You might remember in the last video, I was trying to see if I could get this pickup to start. I could only get a few revolutions of the engine. Rah, 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 wing, right? Well, we can see what's left of a bushing here that goes inside this nose cone. I don't know if you can see that movement. Probably kind of be hard to see from where you are, but this bushing belongs in here. This starter is definitely tired. So I have a rebuild kit here. It's going to have some brushes in it, a couple of new bushings, some washers, some parts that go inside here, as well as where this gear is right here. I think maybe I need to just move this rag out of my way. this gear right here is this assembly. So we're going to take this all apart, put in some new parts, put in a brand new solenoid, and let's see if we can't get this starter going whiz-bang like it's supposed to. It's always a good idea. You know, I'd mentioned, don't be afraid to dive into a project. This starter doesn't work correctly now, so I can't break it, right? So pay attention to how you take things apart. And one of the things you should do is if you're going to pull assemblies apart that might get put together in a different order, if you don't know, find a center punch, or if this was cleaned up, you could use a marker. But I'm going to use a center punch, and I know this is a housing right here that is separate from this housing right here. Now I know those line up. And then I've got this cap in the back here. I'm going to do the same thing just so I know where everything goes when I put it back together. Kind of hard to see, but just little dots. Just little dots. That's all we're looking for. Okay? Let's get apart and see what happens. Okay, so now when you're going to take something apart, you don't want to just grab it and tear it apart, because if you don't know how this goes together, I like to start with the smallest piece first, okay? So this comes off, and I can see that this shaft goes inside here, which means there's probably a bushing right here that is going to be replaced. Little girl's pretty tired. I can also see, if you can see here, these are spring-loaded, okay, and there's pieces on each of these little arms called brushes. These brushes are pretty well worn. The good news is I've got new brushes in this rebuild kit. I can see that when I pull this off, those are spring-loaded, so I want to pay attention to that when I put it back together later, okay? And put this guy in the same order that came apart. You notice, keep things in order. If you don't know how this goes apart and you've never done it before, don't be afraid to try. Just lay it out in a fashion that when you get back ready to put it together, you can go through your own internal mechanics here and you'll know how it's supposed to look. That needs some cleaning up. We're going to need to take this guy apart. And yes, indeedy, this guy has seen its better days. Okay, I'll get this all torn apart. I'm going to get it cleaned up, and I will be back, and we'll take a look at a few things together. Okay, I'm back. So a handful of things to think about here. Is when you're taking things apart, things like this tail housing that was on the back has a new bushing to put inside that came in the kit. Now to get the old one out, I had to use a center punch and bugger things up to get it out. You want to be careful because you don't want to hurt this housing out here. And once you get it out, put a little piece of sandpaper or something in there, make sure it's smooth. And then take something flat if you can, say with a vise maybe, and press it in, because you don't want to damage the edges of this bushing. This bushing is going to ride right in here, and this is what lets the starter spin freely. Now, people would tell you don't bother. I like to put just a little bit of wheel bearing grease, just a tad in there, just because it holds up the heat and it gives it a tiny bit of lubrication for assembly. Now out here on the nose, you might recall that we had this piece fall out when I took this apart, and you can see that bushing's completely shot. This is a little bit oblong. It's not perfect. You can't see it now because I've already pressed a new bushing in, okay? And that's what this armature goes in and will spin in. But it will not move around like it was before, which means this starter will be very happy when we're done. I hope. This is not a starter rebuild video. There are plenty of those out there and people who really know what they're doing. I'm just showing you a few highlights of what I do. This is not exactly a GM approved assembly process. So let's see if we can't get this put back together. Okay, so I have this rascal put back together. You might note earlier that I've made the comment, don't be afraid to try, but pay attention to what you're doing. Yeah, I tore it all apart and I put it together wrong. I thought I had a bad armature on this starter. Turns out it's just fine. So here's what we're going to do. You can test your own starter. Again, this is not a starter rebuild or starter troubleshooting video. Lots of good ones out there. But if you don't know for sure if this is going to work, you can take a battery, in this case my battery charger, ground to ground, battery to your main post right here is what would, when I arc across here, it'll trigger this solenoid and engage the starter. Yay, that works. And I was having a problem before where the starter motor was not working, but now it's happy. So let's get this put back into Stanley and see what trouble we can create. Well, that buttons it up today. I hope you have a safe, joyous, and prosperous 2023. Go out and make a difference, okay? Also, while you're at it, if you have an inclination, maybe hit that like button that's down there. Feel free to subscribe. I'm having fun with some of the feedback I'm getting from all of you. And I know that Stanley's enjoying it also. He's such a camera hog. All right, this is Bob from Pardee Shop Shenanigans. Make it an awesome day.